everyone, I'm Richard Haynes and welcome to my next video looking at the merchandise of Cosgrove Hall's The Wind in the Willows. So this week I thought I'd focus on books, well storybooks to be precise, and there are a number of these. I think I've pretty much got the full UK collection, and I'm going to share them with you now. I'm beginning with the novel itself, so what better story of course than Kenneth Grahame's original novel, so that's what we have in front here. So yeah, thankfully Cosgrove Hall did do a version of the unabridged novel. This was published in 1983 and by Thames Methuen, and it's really lovely. It's really nice to have the complete text here, and as you can see we've got a collection of colour pictures throughout as well, and some of them are full page. So let's just find an example of that. There we go, there's one there. Really beautifully done, and I actually had another version of this, much more tatty than this one, and I was lucky enough to find one in almost mint condition. You can just see there's a few creases on the sleeve there, but otherwise really great condition. Now the interesting thing with this book is it was actually published slightly before the film premiered, so a little bit like the jigsaw puzzles. We got this before we actually even saw the film, and I spoke to Barry Purvis about this when working with him, and annoyingly they couldn't put quite as many pictures in as they'd like because animation was still going ahead. There was lots to shoot still, there was lots to build. I don't think Toad Hall was completely built by this point, so they're quite limited in terms of the images they could use, so that's why there's not a huge amount of images in there, and it was the same for other products as well that I'll get to in future videos. And the other downside to this, which is it does bother me a bit, is that they didn't commission Beverly Bush to do the illustrations. So fans will know that Beverly or Bev Bush did those wonderful illustrations for the titles for the series, and it would have made complete sense for her to illustrate a version of the book. And she, when I interviewed her a while back, she said she was very disappointed at the time. I don't know why this was the case. I don't know why they didn't go with her illustrations. I mean, there are drawn illustrations, as you can see, like this, and they're quite nice, but they certainly don't compare to what Bev would have done. It would have been beautiful if she'd done a version of it. I think it's still an ambition of hers to illustrate the book, but there we go. But however, we do see her illustrations on other products that we'll get to in due course as well. It's really lovely. On the front, of course, we do see this familiar image that crops up quite often in merchandise of the four of them on the riverbank. I do love that image. And on the back, this is quite nice because we've got portraits of the characters, including the two main weasels, which is quite unusual. So it's great to see those portraits. So these are kind of publicity stills that, again, we'll see crop up in various other merchandise as well. So all in all, really lovely. The font is interesting. I've seen this font used elsewhere when they actually showed this on the Disney Channel in the US, and I've got a couple of items where that font is also used. So again, I'll get to that in due course as well. There's the spine there as well. Quite basic. If you haven't got this in your collection, it's not too hard to find. It does seem to pop up on eBay quite often, so it's not rare really, not super rare anyway, so you should be able to find one at a fairly decent price, so do look out for it. I'd say it's essential for any Wind in the Willows collection. So there we go, that's the original novel. So next up we have these marvellous little storybooks, tie-ins with the series, and of course they are based on some of the key episodes. They released 12 of these in total, and I'm fortunate enough to have all 12, and I'm just going to take you through them one by one. I'm not going to show every image because that will take quite some time, but they're really lovely. They're actually, if we take turn inside here, published again by Thames Methuen, and you can see Brian Truman is of course credited as the writer because he obviously wrote the original episodes, but it does say underneath a book version by Nicholas Jones, and you've got the director Jackie Cock as well, so they do credit everybody. And interestingly, when I interviewed Rosemary Ann Sisson, I found some paperwork in relation to the planning of these books. She of course wrote some of the episodes, and in series 1 certainly came up with all the original storylines, and Brian Truman, of course, took over with the script writing process. But really lovely. Each book is full of lots of illustrations taken on set, really high quality print as well. Really beautiful. And the first 4 of these were actually made into audiobooks as well. So I'll just lay these out. So we've got the Grand Annual Show there, Mole's Cousin, The Weasel's Trap, and Alfred and the Caravan, which is actually, of course, The Open Road Again. So I still don't know to this day why they changed the title. I guess Alfred and the Caravan makes more sense. The Open Road Again is only familiar if you really know, well, if you're familiar with the film, it makes more sense then. But yeah, these were all made into audiobooks. The middle 2 here were actually released on LP as well, which of course I'll get to eventually. And the other 2 are also on an audiobook, which I'll come to shortly as well. And that came with a separate book. And so they're really lovely. And so these were published in 1984, and then we got more books like this one, Burglary at Toad Hall. We got The Harvest, The Labyrinth, Buried Treasure. Okay, and that was the second sort of release in 1985. And then in 1986 we got 4 final books: Bankruptcy, Winter Sports, The Rescue, and Toad Photographer. Lovely collection of 12 books there, all beautifully illustrated, like I say. And some of these photos, of course, you won't see anywhere else. Look at that beautiful photo there. So these stills are just absolutely gorgeous. Even when I was growing up, I had a couple of these books, and I ended up cutting out pictures because I loved them so much. So I stupidly destroyed 1 or 2 books. But of course, these days you can easily photocopy and have your own prints. So there we go. Beautiful collection of books there, and not too rare either, so absolutely worth looking out for. Now, in addition to those books, these were actually available. Now, these are certainly rarer. I haven't seen these often at all, but I did actually get these when I was, a child, really. I can't remember how old I was exactly, but I found them for sale in a bookshop called Volume 1 in my hometown, Harlow in Essex. And it's basically 2 books in one. So you've got the Grand Annual Show and The Weasel's Trap here, and then this one was Alfred and the Caravan and Mole's Cousin. Again, everything's exactly the same as the other books, but yeah, like I say, it's just 2 books in one, hardback. So really nice. So no real difference there, except you've got the red cover there and the blue cover there. But yeah, otherwise, really lovely books to have. Mine are a little bit tatty, but like I say, these are really rare. I've never seen these since I think I replaced this one on eBay. This is my original one since childhood, but because this one was quite tatty, and this is the one I cut up, by the way, that I mentioned before. But do look out for them. You never know, you might come across them, but they do seem to be a lot rarer than the individual volumes. Okay, so I did mention that the Grand Annual Show and Alfred and the Caravan were released on audiobooks. I'll come to cassettes later on, but this book was also available, so it's basically the same. I believe it is the same text or very similar. You've certainly got the same pictures throughout for the 2 episodes. I've got a bit of a ripped page there, unfortunately, so this isn't in perfect condition. But this was published by St Michael, and my good friend Paul pointed out that St Michael is actually part of Marks and Spencer, and sure enough, it does say Marks and Spencer on the back there. So I brought up St Michael in my previous video because they brought out a jigsaw puzzle as well. But this is a lovely book. You've got some extra illustrations. I believe that these are the Beverly Bush illustrations, if you look at them. So that is actually really nice to actually have illustrations by Bev Bush in there. I don't know if she's credited. Oh yeah, there we go, illustration Beverly Bush. So that's lovely. So some of these are taken directly from the title sequences. I certainly recognise the fruit here from the Grand Annual Show. So they've mixed them up a little bit. And this I remember, I think that's Wayfarer's All, it might be, that one there. So really lovely to have those published in there. It makes sense, doesn't it, that any book for Cosgrove Falls, The Wind in the Willows should have Bev's illustrations. I'm very, very glad to own this as well. This is extremely rare. So this, of course, as you can see, is the same book, but in packaging with a cassette. Now, when I got this from eBay, I couldn't believe my luck. I never thought I'd find anything like this. Probably, well, I guess very few of these left now, unopened. I say that, though, it is slightly open. As you can see, the cassette does slip out there, so it is slightly unsealed underneath. But the book and the cassette are in mint condition. Really lovely. Nothing on the back, unfortunately, but such a nice thing to have. So the cassette, of course, audio versions of the two stories with the narrator Robin Holmes, but otherwise using dialogue and music from the original episodes. I'm going to review the cassette properly when I get to a separate video on soundtracks, but I just thought I'd share that now. Absolutely lovely. So even though this isn't in great condition, I've got a really nice one here. So do look out for that. That is, like I say though, super rare. So if I can tilt the camera up a little bit. But you never know, you might find one. But it's the sort of item that it's kind of a one-off, isn't it? Next up are these lovely little board books, which are even rarer than the other books I've showed you. These came out in 1985 by Octopus Books, and they're basically aimed at much younger children. Very simple, very easy to read, hard pages all the way through. They brought out 4 of them, and they're absolutely delightful. This is probably my favourite one because this is the most unusual. The others were released as the other type of book. I'll just lay all 4 out. So we've got Toad's Christmas Show there. We'll come to that in a moment. We had Burglary at Toad Hall, Alfred and the Caravan, and Mole's Cousin. So those 3, of course, were released as separate storybooks like we just saw. But this one, I just want to focus on this because this is the most unusual, and we haven't got any other published version of the Yuletide Entertainment, which of course this book is based on. But yeah, some lovely photos in here. But I do want to point out this one. This is a pretty strange photo. I don't know if you can see why. I'll just show that a bit closer. Try and get it in focus. I think they made a big mistake with this photo because you can see the edge of the set here and a huge gap, which is where animators would have got in to animate. So you see the stage, but you can see the metal of the set there, the legs. Yeah, that should not have been published, but I'm glad it was because it gives us a glimpse into the making of the series. So yeah, very strange that got published, but there you go. There's a familiar image there of Toad with his moustache. But you can see how thick these pages are. But yeah, absolutely delightful. And there we got the back there showing the 4 available. So lovely little books. Oh, I do actually have 2 versions of that. Toad's Christmas Show. This is where my OCD goes a bit crazy. Octopus Books and Married Blown Books. So there was a different publisher that took it over at one point. So there you go, 4 lovely little board books there aimed at younger readers. And quite rare, but you never know, you might find them. I found them at various intervals. It took me longest to get Mole's Cousin. That proved the trickiest to find for whatever reason. But do look out for them and you might find them. Like I say, lovely pictures, lovely collectibles. Okay, so next up are the annuals. So these, out of all the books, are probably the most common, quite easy to find, to be honest. They pop up on eBay quite a lot, so you shouldn't have problems finding these. So 3 annuals were published in total. This was the first one, annual 1985, even though it doesn't say 85 on it, annoyingly, but there you go. Published by Lookin', of course, and this one basically has got lovely photos from the series straight away. Sorry, from the film, this one, not the series. We do have this familiar image again, the 4 of them at the beginning. Nice to see the sepia portraits of the characters there. And what I love again about this is it's full of images that we don't necessarily see elsewhere. Certainly this one of Mole, I don't think I've seen anywhere else, unless anyone can correct me there. Lovely ones of the river here, and we can see, if you look closely, these are the miniature versions of the puppets. So Aaron, you pointed out to me that this image was in this book, and I'd forgotten about that. If you remember in my last video, this image was on one of the smaller jigsaw puzzles. So yes, there it is there. That's a lovely photo on that side as well. And when they meet Toad, we got these as well. So different facts about nature, puzzles and things. They're quite nice. I love this image inside the caravan, which we only see in a couple of shots of the film itself, of course. But believe me, a lot of trouble went into making that caravan, the interior as well as the exterior. And nice to see close-ups of the caravan here as well. Toad's escapades in his car, and so on. So yeah, really lovely images. Spot the difference there. Obviously aimed at children, but absolutely worth having, if only for the images. Oh, there's an image from one of the jigsaw puzzles as well. So absolutely lovely. There's that classic portrait of Toad that we see in the title sequence. Nice to see a colour version of that. And this is interesting. At the back, we've got a variation on that image I pointed out before of the four of them. Obviously taken, I would have thought, the same day. Reposed the puppets. And this time I believe we do have the miniatures of Ratty and Mole, I think. Certainly of Toad in the plane there. It's nice to see him in the plane. You really get the sense that he's just swooped down through the countryside, and Badger's very startled by it. So absolutely lovely. This one isn't in mint condition. This was actually given to me by a friend. Her name's written in there. But absolutely lovely. So that's the first annual. So this is the second annual, and this one certainly has my favourite cover. I do love the colours of this, and I love this image, this portrait of the four of them. So as you can see, 1986. If we go inside, this is quite nice because we've got two stories in here, and it's actually the two key episodes that were missing from the film, or key chapters of the book rather. Namely Wayfarers All and The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. So it's really nice to have storybook versions of those. And again, we've got lots of lovely photos that we wouldn't see elsewhere. Wayfarers All is one of my absolute favourite episodes, and certainly my favourite episode from Series 1. For many reasons. It's got certainly a big nostalgic feel for me. It means a lot to me, this one. So, lovely images, and then The Piper That Against the Dawn, another beautiful episode, and lots of lovely stills from that as well. So, do seek these annuals out, they're really nice to have. These pages don't interest me that much, to be honest, the puzzles and things, but they do, of course, make up part of what an annual is all about. I love the image on the back there. See the horse there, it's one of my favourite scenes in the episode where Toad and Mole ask this horse if they've seen a rat passing. And the horse says, not one rat, two. So there we go, that's the annual of 1986. And the last annual was for, you guessed it, 1987. So here we go, we have, as you can see, an image from The Great Golfing Gamble on the front. Lovely portrait of Toad and the little rabbit there, the caddy. On the back, we've got a still from the episode The Storm. So that's, of course, a hint at which episodes are covered in here. So I love these these patterns. That's very Toad-like, isn't it, that one? So yeah, The Storm and The Great Golfing Gamble, and of course interspersed with lots of puzzles, facts about nature, spot the difference, the usual sort of things you'd expect. The Storm isn't one of my favourite episodes, if I'm honest. It's okay, but again, we've got some lovely stills here from that episode. Really nice. And then we just flick forward a bit. Great Golfing Gamble, which is one of my favourite episodes. I do love this one. Again, some really lovely still. Look at that one. Beautiful image there. So yeah, really lovely. I think I've ended up with better copies of these annuals in more recent years. I used to have other copies again that I'd cut out as a child as well, so I didn't actually get them as presents for as a child or anything, but I just remember having an earlier copy of this one in particular and shredding it to pieces, so I eventually got one that was in much better condition. So there we go, that's the annuals. So I do have one final UK book This one's pretty common as well. I've seen a few other fans with this, and it's, as you can see, it's called Toad's Christmas Party, published by Ladybird. So Ladybird, of course, brought out hundreds and hundreds of all sorts of books, and they did a range based on different brands, TV series, films, and so on. This, as far as I know, the only one they did for The Wind in the Willows, which is a shame. I wish they'd done more, but I'm almost 100% certain that this is the only one they did. It is, of course, based on the episode Fancy Dress from Series 2. Fantastic episode, but they've retitled it Toad's Christmas Party, which is fine. I don't mind that. We can assume it's set at Christmas. We've got all the holly, of course, decorated around Toad Hall. And I love this. It's got some really lovely pictures in it. As you can see, mine is not in mint condition. Someone's written in it, but otherwise it's pretty good. What I love about it is, again, the images. I mean, that's really what we want these books for, isn't it? Just the endless range of gorgeous still images that we wouldn't necessarily see elsewhere. Look at that lovely one of the weasels there performing when a felon's not engaged. Really lovely images, and the quality of the print isn't bad. I mean, these Ladybird books, they're pretty good stock of paper. Yeah, quite straightforward. Just published by Ladybird. We've got the old Cosgrove Hall logo on the back there. I don't know if you can see that. Try and focus on that. So you've got the Thames logo, of course, and Cosgrove Hall next to it there. So that was the one that was typically used in the 90s. And this book was actually published in 1991. So not long after the series ended. So yeah, do look out for that. Like I say, not very rare, pretty easy to find. Whoops, and essential for your collection, I would say. So yeah, look out for that. Okay, so just to finish this video off, then I've got a bit of an anomaly. This, of course, is not an English book. This is German. So Winden den Weiden, I can't pronounce it. So I don't know if anyone's ever come across this book. I certainly was very intrigued when I saw this. It seemed to suggest it was the novel, the story, and it does seem to be so. I don't know if it's abridged in any way, but if you translate or try to translate what it says under the title there, it suggests that there's photos from the series, which it does have, and I'm very pleased to say there's some wonderful images in here, that some of which I haven't seen anywhere else, which I love. So I'll just try and share them with you now. All the images are packed together, which is great. This one we do see often, so this is like the classic portrait of Mole, and this one as well. I've seen this on some other merchandise. But as we go further, there's more images that are really exciting. I mean, look at this one. This is from Caught in a Maze. Has nothing to do with the text because, like I say, this is the original story. But how lovely to have that. I haven't seen that anywhere else, that image. Or apart from possibly Time Life DVDs, maybe. Maybe not, I can't remember. But these we've seen elsewhere, of course. But that's the first section. But then the second section, this really excites me. Look at that. Toad Astronomer. Where else would you see that? I haven't seen that anywhere else. The only downside to a lot of these images is that many of them are flipped, and that's certainly one that is flipped. You might not look it, but if you look at the way the buttons are, on this waistcoat there, it is flipped, unfortunately, and that's the case for a few others. This is from the Open Road again, which we do see in the books, but this one's from the Labyrinth. This image was used for one of the Time Life DVDs, but we see the wide version here with Badger. I love that. Really nice. That's a classic one from the film, which we see a lot. And this one is from Badger's Remedy, so that's an unusual still. This one we see often of Toad in his car, or the one he's stolen there. And look at this. This is a rare one. This is from Mr. Toad's telephone. And this one is flipped, unfortunately. So it is annoying when you have an image that's flipped, but a great thing to do, of course, is to photocopy this, flip them around the right way, and have your own little printouts. which I haven't done yet. I'm sure I'll get around to it. This is another image that's flipped as well. This is from Fire at Toad Hall. So again, very unusual image there. Another one here from School Days, again flipped, pretty annoying. This image I believe is the one used on the School Days and Hot Air video that I'll come to eventually. But nice to see a much bigger version here. And these are really high quality prints. This is from Mole's Cousin, but we do see that in the storybook of Mole's Cousin. And then if we go to the next section, this is nice. This is from the film, but I don't think I've seen that image anywhere else of Mole on his stepladder there. So it's really lovely to see that. Really nice quality. This is lovely from Toad Photographer, and Toad's having his portrait painted by Badger, and he starts falling in love with the idea of painting. The top one there is good. That's from The Further Adventures of Toad, so it does fit in well with this book because that's a chapter from the original story that was omitted from the film. So it's nice to have that. And then look at that one. That one below is from Mercury of the Motorbicycle. So we've got quite a mix here of stills across the series, all the way up to Series 3. So there's no images from anything from Series 4 or 5. But so lovely to have these images. This is from The Weasel's Trap, but I have seen this image before in the storybook. Look at these. These are from Unlikely Allies, and they're certainly unlikely images, both of them. So lovely to have a double page spread there from Unlikely Allies. Again, I believe both of those are flipped. So again, really annoying, but lovely to have them nonetheless. And finally, we have another image from The Further Adventures of Toad there, but a very unusual one at the dinner table. So there we go. So if you can find this, it's absolutely worth getting for the images alone. There's a familiar image there, one of the jigsaw puzzles. So do look out for it. I managed to get this very cheaply. It was literally just a few pounds. And I think I did get it from Germany, but the postage cost was quite small as well. So for me, it was worth getting. Just being intrigued by the images, and the seller was able to send some scans of the images, and that alone justified the cost for me buying it. And would you believe there's another version of this with a different cover, which is this. This seems rarer. I've only seen this once, and that's the time I bought it, and I thought, right, I've got to get that. But yeah, absolutely no difference inside. No point me opening it. It's exactly the same text, same images. The only difference is the cover. Date of publication on these, if I just open this, is 1989, so quite late on. I'll just check this one. I believe this was the same year, yeah, 1989. So there's the chapter list there in German. If you can speak German, then brilliant. Or read German, rather. But yeah, exactly the same book. Otherwise, just that image. But we've got the Harvest on the front of this one. I do prefer this one, if I'm honest. Lovely to have that image from the episode Harvest. Again, though, flipped, annoyingly, but there you go. So yeah, do look out for those. You never know, you might find them. They're not super rare, I don't think, and absolutely worth having in your collection. So there you have it. That's my collection of Wind in the Willows storybooks. So like I say, I believe I have the complete UK collection of books. I don't think I'm missing any. But if any of you do spot any that I haven't got, or know of any, please do let me know. I'd be really, really interested to hear. And of course I do have those German ones there. I'm sure there are, of course, other versions, European versions, or versions of the story in different languages, but I'm not sure about Cosgrove Hall versions, so I would be interested to seek out any more, just to have them for the images alone. I mean, one of these days I'm going to get around to scanning all these images and printing them out, just so I've got them as little keepsakes as well. But yeah, absolutely lovely collection. I love them. Such a range of books, and quite a few really, if you think about it, over the years. So do look out for them. Absolutely worth having in your collection. Alright, so hope you enjoyed this video. As always, please do subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell, like, comment, all the usual stuff. If you ring the bell, of course, you'll be notified of future videos. I am doing these once a week, looking at a particular aspect of merchandise each week, so I do like to keep it surprise. I've already got in mind what I'd like to do next week, so do join me for that next Sunday. And as always, hope all is well. Stay home, stay safe in these strange times, and hope you're enjoying these videos. Alright then, take care everyone, and I'll see you soon.